Simplified Chaos, episode 165.
Life is beautiful and full of chaos.
And it can get slightly out of hand if that shit's not tamed.
We're here to share how to simplify the little things to help you lead a more intentional life.
This is Simplified Chaos.
Hey everybody, welcome to Simplified Chaos. This is Jillian and I'm with my husband and co-host Nicholas.
What's going on, folks? We hope you all are having an amazing week. Happy Independence Day to those of you in the United States. We just came off of a nice long weekend and we are back at it. Jilly, we're going against the grain again this week. What are we going to talk about?
Goal reflection.
Goal reflection. Yeah.
Is that a good title for it?
I like it. Yeah, we're going to be reflecting on some goals today and kind of show you all how we do it, because I think this would be a good exercise. And yeah, I think it's just going to be awesome to kind of see where we're at the midpoint of the year now that we are in July. So we got some more great stuff here for you. But before we dive into that, as always, we love to show a little gratitude. So Jilly, what are you grateful for today?
I am grateful for the tribe that we have created for ourselves here in Charlottesville, Virginia. It's been a really full weekend full of so many good people. We went to a winery and met up with some friends, and we were introduced to some new friends, and it's so good to meet people who are open-minded and have similar values and can just connect and have great conversation. And then we had this epic little cookout on 4th of July and just kind of hung out with our some neighbor friends, and they are the parents of the little boy that I nanny part-time, and we just hung out there and chilled. The kids were playing in the water, just like everywhere. Great food, good conversation, really laid back, and we got to see the fireworks too, and just walk on home with little Lucille, who was closing her eyes on the way back. And
She was tuckered out.
Yeah, I just feel like this weekend was just full of amazing humans that have, like, now that we can call friends. It's crazy. Like, thinking last year on last 4th of July, we didn't know anybody, and we saw the fireworks with just our family, and just thinking like how great it was to see the fireworks and walk across the street and just be in this new place. And then now we have really amazing people in our lives that we can call really good friends.
Yeah.
And just very grateful for that.
Absolutely. So mine's pretty similar to yours. It's, just the connectivity with the folks this weekend. We had some guests come in Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, which was amazing, hosting them and just having a good time. They have a daughter who is basically the same age as Lucille. They are exactly a month apart, and they just, had an amazing time together. And like you said, just the connection with friends and neighbors, and getting to know neighbors. I mean, we were at the pool for 3 hours on 4th of July, and we got a little cooked, but nothing terrible. But it was just nice being able to connect with neighbors, and some neighbors that we hadn't talked to and had deep conversations with. So just grateful to have that opportunity and to have such a cool meeting spot for all of us to kind of get together and get to know each other a little bit more.
Yeah. Oh my God. I completely forgot about our friends visiting from Maryland. Man, it has been a full,
it's been a
good
long,
human connection weekend. Wow. All the good stuff.
All the good stuff. But now, we've got more connection coming up. But we've got some more stuff that we're going against the grain, and we're excited to share it with you. So Jilly, how do you want to kick this one off here?
Well, I don't think many people come together and say, I think it's time for us to reflect on our goals. At least not in my house. So the reason I think it's against the grain is because I never heard my mom and dad come together or have these kinds of discussions. The only goals that I heard of were my dad's workout goals. He was big
on... Those are good goals to have.
Oh, absolutely. He was big on setting workout intentions and goals and keeping track of that. But other than that, I really didn't know much about goal setting, about like with anything that came into that. So it was a brand new concept to me, like as an adult, like even getting a goal planner. Like, how do I use this? I don't know where to start. It's a little overwhelming. is this goal okay to make? There's a lot of question marks when we first started this 3-4 years ago.
Yeah.
So I think it's something to share, and how
This is our
beneficial.
third planner, so we've definitely been doing this. This is
Yes.
our third year doing this.
The Ink and Volt company who makes these planners, I have never been disappointed, and it's something that keeps working, and it evolves. Like, the planners don't evolve too much, but the content obviously comes from us, so that is constantly evolving, and it's been a great tool to help guide the process on what do I want out of life? What are my major goals? How do I break that down into micro goals or micro steps? And how can I lay that out during the kind of like back mapping your year? Like, where can I plan to do this? Where can I plan to fit that in? And it makes you really, truly intentional on what you want out of life and how to get that done. And I always like checking in with Nick halfway through the year, because I honestly don't remember Nick's goals from the beginning of the year, even though we did talk about it, but there's a
Right.
lot that has happened. So it's always cool to hear Nick's perspective and to hear his goals and how he's pivoting or what he's struggling with. And that kind of gives me an opportunity to see, like, how can I support him in that process, and vice versa.
Right.
So I love doing this because it's great for our relationship. It's great for us moving up, onward and upward, whatever that looks like for both of us. And yeah, I get really excited about goal stuff.
Yeah. And then another thing I like about reflecting on them is, like, we are in a different place than we were even 6 months ago. And it's just really cool to see when you look at your goals and just like, okay, that was a goal then, things have changed, and now, like, that's not a goal, or that goal has shifted, or it looks a little bit different now. So, like, just because you set a goal at the beginning of the year doesn't mean it may look the same as you progress through the year, as you take steps towards obtaining or reaching that goal. So, like, I think that this is a really good exercise just to say, hey, this is where my mindset was, this is where we were at this point in time. The X, Y, and Z has changed. How do I have to shift my goal, or does that goal even still exist in my life anymore? So, like, these are all the really cool things about writing stuff down is, hey, you get to see where you were in that snapshot of time. And now you're like, okay, this is where I am. Let's see what I can do to reach my new goals for the second half of the year. So, yeah, I think this is a really good point and a good exercise for us to do. And we're going to do it here in person. So if you all care to hear, what our goals are and how we have these conversations, this is a good time to listen in. So, hey, Jilly,
Yes.
what are some of your goals this year, and where are you at on them?
Okay. Let's see. Some of my big goals were to become an effective photo editor,
Ooh,
because I am diving into that part time. To chat with 8 new humans for the podcast,
think you're close to that.
to travel once a month with family, either by myself or as a couple or with other friends,
Okay.
to read, consume what makes my mind open, kind, and brave. I also had to take action to do bold things that would spread joy into the world. And then I had all these little micro goals. Do you want me to share those
I think
too?
we unpack the major goals, because you've got some really good ones there, and so, like, at this point, like, how do you feel about where you are with these goals? Like, do you feel like you've made progress? Do you feel like there's any roadblocks that you might have? What are your thoughts on those?
So some wins. That's the one reason why I like doing these reflection conversations, is because I think sometimes we forget to celebrate how far we've come, and we forget where we were to start with. So it's nice to kind of see that evolution on paper, just to see where we were and where we are now. As far as wins, so far I've chatted with 5 people for the podcast,
There you
which
go.
I'm really
More than
excited
halfway
about.
done.
Yes. I have read twice as many books as I did last year. And it's really cool to see when I put my mind to something, like, and now that we have access, not that we didn't have access to a public library, but because I've taken a lot of things off my plate that weren't bringing me joy, it's now I have space and time to, like, make time to do that. And it's not even during the day, really. It's right before bed. I feel like I'm watching less TV and consuming less distracting things, and now I'm able to have time to input more positive things that have been uplifting. As far as photo editing, well, I am so excited. Have just edited my second partial catalog. One of my dear friends is a private photo editor for wedding photographers, and I've helped her twice so far. And it's like my little side hustle that I get to connect with her. I get to make a little bit of money, but it's fun. So far she's given me great feedback, so I'm like really pumped for that. As far as taking action to do bold things, I think we've had many really interesting conversations on the podcast that I normally would have never done. But we read a book, which kind of ties into reading. With my one goal is that we read a book about how to have, I don't know, controversial topics or conversations and crucial conversations. And now I feel like we talked about a lot of things that were against the grain that I was very vulnerable with, because I wasn't sure how it was going to be taken by people and society. And so far, I think we're on the right track with that. We're doing a lot of things that are on our hearts and on our minds, and trying to do it the best way we can. So I like to say my goals, there's a lot of wins so far.
Yeah, no, that sounds great. Is there any roadblocks that you're experiencing, or do you feel like you're progressing as the year moves on?
The only struggles that I've noticed, and I didn't talk about my micro goals, is really like internal stuff. Like, so when it comes to talking about certain topics or being vulnerable, a lot of it is just like letting go of fear. I feel like some goals have pivoted. Like, I didn't have anything in there about homeschooling, but now we're deep into like homeschooling, and we're experimenting with unschooling, and it's happening. Like, Lucille's been learning since she came out of the womb. So we've been in it for a while. I think it's weird that, like, you know, we sometimes say we haven't started it yet, but essentially we have. Lucille's been learning since she came out.
Right.
So it's just now we're putting a label to it and we're talking about it, and it's becoming more and more real now that she's 4. So I feel like there's a lot of learning and growth and confidence that I'm trying to build in myself in that direction, which was not even in the picture in the beginning of the year, but now it is. So it is interesting seeing that shift, and like me diving into more of like just confidence building books, and making sure that, like, you know, I'm letting go of fear and judgment of others because we're doing the right thing, and I'm feeling confident about that decision. So it's like all the struggles. It's funny. I think was probably like last year. It's usually internal work. So obviously by reading and consuming a lot of quote unquote self-help books and listening to podcasts, that's been truly helping me get through those roadblocks.
Yeah.
And yeah, so far so good.
No, you're doing great, babe. Is there anything I can do to support you in your growth and in your journey to reach your goals?
Oh man, I think...
See, these are things you got to ask.
Yeah, no, it's a good question. I think I just have to keep vocalizing when I need support and help, like, and you just saying like, I'm there for you, like I got it, which you are amazing at doing anyway. Like when I say I need to go for a walk, or I need to get this done and I really need, if you could watch Lucille, you're always like super open and like, yeah, I got you. Or you communicate like, hey, can we do that in 10 minutes? And then we'll switch. And so I feel grateful that you're always there to like help out with that. And I'm just going to continue to be bold in not feeling guilty with asking for help and support, which is slowly been like loosening up, which is great. I feel so much better when I communicate clearly and openly with you about all the things and how I'm feeling.
Gets rid of all the guess games and all that stuff. Like it's just like, and you know, you've helped me learn to speak up as well and say, hey, like you said, hey, can we do this in 10 minutes, or can I finish this, or whatever. And then it's just like, yeah, you know, we make those, we have that discussion and then make those decisions. So like, yeah, no, it's been, because of our goals, it's helped us communicate better amongst each other.
100%. I think the one thing that I know that I want to make time for that I had last year, and I put it in here as one of the micro goals, is like, as far as getaways, I do want to have like at least 2 days of solo time, just because I got a tremendous amount of benefit in that. I think I had like 3 days to myself magically. It's just weird how it worked out that way. So I'm just trying to figure that out and not feel guilty about, Nick, how can we coordinate so I can have like 2 days completely by myself, just because it was very restorative. So that's the only thing I'm holding on to now is with mom guilt. Like right now, like I'm glad we're talking about it because as far as getaways, that's the only thing I'm trying to like figure out. Do I go away? Do I stay here? You know, what does that look like? And knowing that it's okay to ask for that.
Yeah,
I don't know.
absolutely.
Like if you ever were like, Jill, I want 2 days to myself, I'd be like, totally. So,
I don't know if I could spend 2 days by myself.
and it's funny, I'm the complete opposite where I'm like, I feel like it's just revitalizing to have that time. And I know you're so different than me. Like I fill up on silence and alone time, and you are like, you fill up when you're around, you know, other people or energy. And, you know,
I mean, I've had days by myself. Like if you
True.
go back to Maryland with Lucille and to visit family when I'm working, like, but I still don't. I mean, I do count that as time to myself, but it's not like full blown time to myself because I'm working, you know,
Yeah.
so many hours of the day. I mean, my time to myself might be like, hey, I may sit down and watch a series or something like that, just to
Yeah.
like because I don't do that normally, like you
Yeah.
know. So, yeah, I mean, I guess I get that by default when you head north to Maryland or to visit somebody with Lucille.
Yeah. So that's like the only thing I'm thinking about, you know, as far as getaways. I feel like we're doing an awesome job traveling once a month, making that happen. And we just
Hell, I think
podcasted
we're
about
probably
that.
even more than once a month if you really think
Yeah.
about it.
It's kind of wild when you start to write something down and you head that way. It's like happening, and it's cool to see that. But no, I think just listening and, you know, just being supportive like you are and not making me feel guilty like you never do. So just continue on that pathway, and I'm just going to keep boldly asking for help and feeling okay about it.
You got it.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm trying to think. Was there any other questions that you had or
Like those are the biggest ones. I mean, like it's cool because like I think a lot of our goals are also aligned because you know you have your personal goals, but then we have our family goals, and like so like our family goals are certainly aligned. You know, when it comes to travel, when it comes to like, hey, we want to hike X many times a month, or at least take a walk somewhere as a family. So like a lot of that stuff is already aligned, and those are things that you know we talk about. So like it's very easy to kind of go into our planners and say, hey, you know, this is a goal for the year, and you know they're pretty much you know the same things, but then you have your own like personal ones. So like for me, you know, kind of going into it, like my number one goal this year that I had was to be a better communicator. And that's like just all around, like that's, you know, be a better communicator with you. My job at work is to be a communicator. So like, how can I improve there and make sure that, you know, people are informed when they need to be informed, and am I using the right language? And, you know, it's just like all of those things in the communication, and communication is like pivotal these days. And I think the reason why we have so many you know struggles in the world right now is because of poor communication. So like that's my number one goal is just to be a better communicator, communicate with my family, you know, call my mom and dad, you know, at least once a week, if not more, you know, make sure I'm texting with friends. I need to get better at you know making phone call connections with friends. You know, it's easy to text, it's easy to send memes and gifs and all that stuff. But to actually have like those conversations, you know, I think that's an area like when I look at that, still can use improvement, and you know I'll get there. But like, you know, I'm kind of taking a page out of your book and trying to set up like a trip for the guys. It's all my buddies all turned 40 this year, so it's like, hey, you know, I'm gonna take the reins on this. You know, let's find something fun that we can all get together, just one night away from you know the families, and you know just hang out and celebrate that. You know, we've been on this earth for 40 years. So like, you know, I just want to make sure like I'm getting better at communicating there. This one is going to be a little one of those things where it's kind of like, yeah, I'm still doing that, but it looks a little bit different, but it's like learn and practice self-sustainability. And I think that that's a very difficult thing. Like there are certain things that you can be self-sustainable on, but like you also still need your community to support, and you know, so I think it's, if I had to change that, it's to build my community to help with sustainability. So this year we've made a great relationship with a local farm that has just amazing, you know, beef, pork, you know, and all that good stuff. Like that is a huge part of our diet now, like even more so than it was before. and just building that relationship with them, going to their farm every other week and just having conversations. And, really we're hoping to help them, expand their business a little bit further by setting up a drop point in our driveway. So the people who can't drive or just feel like, it's a little bit of a drive to get to the farm, that they can just come to our place and pick up their orders. So like, I just think that that's, part of our sustainability here where we're at is developing those relationships to kind of continue and further that. It's like, we want to start finding farmers who, produce raw milk. And, so we can understand where those are coming from. We're trying to get to know the farms where we get our eggs from. So like, we're learning a whole bunch of things about our food. And part of that is, building those relationships and asking those questions and getting to know the source of, what we're putting in our body. So like, I think that's changed a little bit for me.
I was just going to say, you've done a lot of research on self-sustainability with just overall health. Like,
yes,
you've learned so much just about oral health, mental health,
mental
obviously.
health, yeah, all of it.
And I think that totally counts. And I know it's probably not what you imagined when you wrote
It
that.
looks
So it's
completely different,
it
right?
does, and
it's
fascinating.
just it's 6 months from when we wrote this down. So like, that's what's crazy to me, and that's why I kind of preface this conversation with like, hey, even though you write stuff down, it's going to change a little bit. And so this is one of those ones that have changed a little bit. Travel somewhere at least once per month, common goal. We're obviously knocking that out of the park. I think in July here, we're traveling damn near every weekend. So, North Carolina 2 more times this year. We've already been once. We'll be back to Maryland. I'll be back to Maryland twice this month for work. So yeah, no, we're definitely knocking that one out of the park. Here's one that I started to learn about, and I'm going to continue towards the second half of this year, is learning more about sound money and store of value. Because right now the biggest word in our vocabulary is inflation, and well, what is that? And I'm not going to get into that whole thing, but like, I'm really interested in like sound money and like doing the research on that. Like, I don't know if it's cryptocurrency or if it's gold and precious metals, but like, we're at a time where like our dollar is just not buying what it used to. And it's because all this money has been pumped into the system. Like, you just can't create money out of thin air and expect money to maintain its value. So I want to learn more about that. I want to be better at making financial decisions, in the future, when stuff like this comes around. So like, I just think it's really important that people understand just like, what is money and what is value and how that's all about. And right now it's just like, it's a crapshoot. So I just want to learn. It's like one of those things I really wanted to learn about because it's important for sustainability. It's important for life and whatnot. So I've already started doing some research on that and just some listening on that, but that's another area that I can expand upon in the second half of the year. Create an outdoor workspace. That is in progress. We need a patio to be built in order for that to happen.
We don't have to have a patio.
But
we could do it on the grass. You could put a rug down. We could be creative.
Yeah, but I don't want my laptop on my balls. That's not good for you.
Let's just say there are ways. We're really waiting for the foundation of the patio before we begin.
Yes.
And it's out of our control. We're on like, what month is it? Like month 8?
We put the down payment in late October, and here we are in July. It's just part of the whole, weather, labor, materials, all that stuff. I get it. It's going to look fantastic when it's done. Patiently waiting.
It just gives you more time to plan out what you want that to look like, what materials you need, and when the time
I just
comes,
need the table, and then like this. Basically, I saw about building like this like wood box that goes over your computer to prevent the sun glare, it looked awesome. Like, you can buy cheap ones on Amazon, but I want to build my own, so it's mine. But I have an idea of like how it would look, like how my day would start. Like, I would want to be outside like the first hour and a half at work, getting that early sun. And then maybe even wrapping up the day, just depending on how hot or warm it is. Later in the day is obviously the warmest time, but at least getting my day started outside, I think, would be awesome.
I was gonna say, we can always invest in a table now and put it out there, and then your feet can be grounded in the grass.
It's not level out there, and that's gonna throw me. Yeah, like it's my particulars.
I know.
Yeah. And then the last thing I had on my list, which I have not even remotely started, and I don't even know that I'm going to do this year, but I thought it at the beginning of the year that it would be just a really cool thing to go with Lucille and start doing some yard sale arbitrage.
Oh my
Oh my
gosh.
goodness. Yeah. And, just our neighborhood hasn't even had the yard sale yet, but like basically just like looking at stuff, going to yard sales, trying to find some valuable things that you can potentially turn around and sell on eBay for a profit. It's a good way to make some money here and there. It's a good way to teach Lucille lessons about those things. I think I may wait until next year when she's a little bit older. She's still not quite there with money. Like she gets money, buys things now, and has started saving up in her piggy bank. But like, I need to get her like, and maybe that's the goal this year is to get Lucille learning a little bit more about money, have her spend some of it, and do what she will with those things. Learn that if you break it, that it's gone. That's why we take care of our things. And if she buys food, you eat it whenever you want, like it's your thing, you bought it, when you feel like you're comfortable and ready to eat it, like that's so like there's a lot of lessons in that. So like I think it would be cooler like when she's got a little bit more of that
Agreed.
that money background. So that'll be in the back pocket. It's not going away. It's still a passion that I want to explore. Gary V does it a lot, if anybody knows who Gary V is. But yeah, I mean, I feel like I'm on my way for a lot of things, and we're keeping pace, and we're right where we need to be with goals. And even though we've had to pivot on some things based on some of the things that we're consuming and some of the directions that we're going with our health and our food, I just think everything's going great.
Agreed. Is there anything I can do to support you?
Just keep doing you.
Keep doing me.
Yeah.
All right. Man. This went a lot smoother than I thought.
Yeah, well, I think it's because we do talk about. I mean, we don't talk about these goals like every day, but like we've had these conversations, and I think it's more important like just kind of, even though we're not talking about our goals directly, it's just like just being open to how we can support each other in that every day. Like today, I just don't, I might not need support, but next week I might need you to do something, or help out with a certain thing, or motivate me to do something. And, I just want to make sure that, we keep those lines of communication open and that we're able to have those discussions.
Yeah. And like a great example was I didn't have any goal or intention in this planner of homeschooling, like of even diving into like educating myself more on that. But I met a friend who's like, hey, there's this homeschooling convention if you want to learn more. And I was like, yes. And I asked you and got to spend the night away and educate myself and learn more. So that's like a great opportunity of like, example of like the pivot that I made like spontaneously, and you were ready to say yes. And
yeah. I mean, that was one of those things where you asked me like, can you take a day off of work to, hang out with Lucille? I'm like, yes, like this is super important. Like I would do that again in a heartbeat. Like, it's like, yeah, this is for her betterment. So, and plus I get to spend time with her. So it was awesome.
Yeah. Well, and it's funny, it kind of aligns to like just the having like consuming positive things. And I never would have thought that I would have been going to like a convention or a conference this year. And it's funny how like that's part of that category. I didn't know in 6 months ago what it's going to look like to grow and consume information, but it wasn't just through books and podcasts. It was actually going to really cool meetups and groups and stuff. So it's cool to see how our goals unfold and how they did not look anything like when I put finding a part-time job that aligned to my values. I did not envision that I would be part-time nannying or part-time or like doing photo editing help.
Yeah.
I had no idea that's what it was going to look like. So it's so cool to see it unfold and be what it needs to be and what's fun for us. And yeah, it's quite magical reflecting on our goals, man.
It is.
It's definitely a romantic thing, I think.
Oh, all right. All right, Jilly. Well, I think that covers it for our goal reflection. Do you have any resources for our listeners today?
I just have a small little nugget to read out
Ooh.
of one of my favorite books. It's called A Year of Positive Thinking by Cindy Spiegel, and I found one that I thought was appropriate. It's called The Windy Road Upward.
Ooh, let's hear it.
It's easy to look at what others have achieved and measure your own success or progress against it. But no one starts out at the top, and no one gets there the same way. One of the most courageous things you'll ever do is trust that there is, in fact, a path, and that path is whichever windy road you are traveling. Your path won't always be straight, and it won't always be easy, but it will always be yours, and it will always lead you to the mountaintop that is perfect for you. Trust that.
Nice.
Yeah.
I like that.
I like her stuff. I love just having these books that I can just pull off a shelf. I'm like, I need this in my life. I need it today. I need this moment. The words just, take me to another level.
There you go. All right. And do you have a quote of the day for everybody?
I do.
It's got a little clipping that was on our refrigerator.
This quote I hung on our fridge because I love it so much.
Just don't put the net magnet near the computer. That can erase the hard drive.
Does it?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, I'm going to keep that away. This is by Michelangelo Buonarroti. I could be totally butchering this.
Oh.
Anyway, here are his words. The greatest danger for most of us is not that our aim is too high and we miss it, but that it is too low and we reach it. It just pushes us to keep growing and giving ourselves grace and
set the bar
evolving
high.
And pivoting as needed to aim high, to dream big, man.
There we go. Isn't aim high the Air Force logo or slogan?
I don't know.
I don't know.
I can't take you seriously when you're stroking your
I know.
beard
This
like that.
beard is getting epic.
Just don't let it grow any longer. So it's
fair enough. I'm gonna have to call Sam soon and just get him to trim it.
Yes, please call Sam.
Will do. All right, and the take action challenge is
create space to make goals and then check in on yourself.
Especially check in on each other.
Especially if you have a friend or a partner who's doing it alongside you. It's way more fun to do it with somebody else.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that's going to do it for today's episode. If you like this episode, please do us a favor and help us spread the message. You can do this by writing a review or simply by sharing this episode with a friend. And remember, sharing sparks a conversation, conversation leads to action, and action is how we're able to live a happy and intentional as hell lifestyle. We want to thank you all for listening today, and we will see you again next week.
See y'all later.